So the requirement here is a record will not save if a district is assigned an invalid volunteer. So where do district and volunteer meet? Yeah, it's obviously the district table. Let's have a look. If we go to the district table, we have district ID and volunteer ID, and we want what not to be invalid? The invalid volunteer. So we want correct volunteers from a drop-down list, from a combo box, yeah, like earlier. So we will make a lookup for volunteer. So we always have to keep an eye on these, yeah. So let's do it, enforce referential integrity. Now, if we, while doing this, we forget to correct our relationships, then we will have problems later on with queries. So you have to keep an eye on these relationships, yeah. This is where it all starts from, yeah. So we want to create a lookup for volunteer ID in here. This is where district and volunteer meet. What you don't want to be invalid is the volunteer ID. So you make a drop-down list that contains only the valid volunteer IDs. Therefore it's a lookup, yeah, and it will be done here. Okay, there we have it. We need therefore to delete this relationship now, because the database will protest. Look, district table, volunteer and district, yeah, or district name, it doesn't matter, one of these two and that, the district and the volunteer. The district table, that's where they meet. So we always go to relationships to see where these meet, and we want a drop down list box on volunteer ID so that these are not invalid, they're always correct. So let's go to the design view. We'll see now why it won't work if we don't delete the relationship, yeah. This is the volunteer ID that we want to keep correct. We go to lookup wizard, and immediately it tells us that it is a part of one of our relationships, yeah. Then we have to go back to the relationships, delete the relationship that is joining this to another table that is related to the volunteer ID that we want to create the lookup for, yeah. Delete. Yes, I press the delete button. I do it in many ways so that you get used to the right clicking or the delete button, etc. And we save that, make sure that it's not there. We close it again. We go to the district table in design view. We go to the volunteer ID, lookup wizard. You can type in the values that you want or get the lookup field to get the values from another table, yeah. If it's many, you can always get them from another table. It's just a couple, so you can always type them together. Then let's do this one, yeah, so that at least we see how this one works, because we could have used this earlier, yeah. So let's go to the database. The volunteer ID is here, and it's only 1 and 2. These are the volunteers, 1 and 2, nothing else. So we go, I will type in, we go there, we say 1, we're creating a column, yeah, and we say 2. Next, it's what label do you want it? It's the volunteer ID, that's fine. Limit to list. Now we could have see that before that checkbox here, basically if we don't tick it here, we will be forced to tick it after. So remember, even for the previous lookup, you didn't have to go to lookup and find it in the properties, but you can do it from here, limit to list. Remember to click it either way. So we've done that, and I showed you how to do it from the property list of lookups, but what I'm telling you now is to tick it there, limit to list. Just say finish to that. All you need to be concerned is about that limit to list thing, yeah. Now it is yes now, you see, because we ticked it as yes. Now we save the table and we open it in datasheet view, and you will see here that you have a list of the valid volunteer IDs, that one and that one, yeah, the volunteers that exist. So you cannot assign a wrong volunteer because it's these ones plus we said limit to list. If you remember, limit to list means that if I press 3, it won't accept it. So let's press 3, it doesn't accept it. Yeah, it just doesn't accept it. You have to select one of these. Let's get rid of this record now, and you can see the auto number worked here. So right click and say delete record, and we close the table. Let's have a look at our lookup. We go to volunteer ID, there's the lookup, it's a combo box, value list 1 and 2. Yeah, so in this case we entered the values, we didn't collect them from we didn't assign them from another table. It's the same thing, only now that we have to go to relationships and join the table back. Volunteer, yeah, to volunteer, enforce referential integrity, create. That's it. Always remember to correct your tables. And this concludes us completing this requirement here, that only valid volunteers accepted. Yeah, don't let this mix you up. When you see assigning something to an invalid, think of lookup straight away, because to create a choice of valid something, and in this case volunteers, in the previous case district, you need to create a list of those things and force the user to limit themselves to that list. Now the next one is this one. We'll have a look at that in the next video.